Welcome to Talking with Tech. I'm Rachel Madel, and today I'm so excited to share an interview I did with Jesse and Holly Erickson. They are the proud parents to a little boy named Bedford who has Schwartz-Jampel syndrome. And I actually found them when I was scrolling around on Instagram, and I completely fell in love with Bedford. He is such a sweet boy, and I was so impressed with the advocacy for an accessible playground. So in this interview, I am chatting with the parents all about their journey. Here's the interview I did with Jesse and Holly Erickson. Welcome to Talking with Tech. I'm your host, Rachel Madel, joined today by Jesse and Holly Erickson. I'm so excited to have you guys here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So can you just start off by telling our listeners a little bit about who you are?
So we're Jesse and Holly. We've been married for 12 years. We have two sons, Lincoln, who is 4, and Bedford, who is 3. And we both are professionals in the community. We're from a small town. We're both from the same county, met in college, and really have been together ever since almost. And we finally decided to have kids, got two awesome and very active boys. But we found out, I guess it's been almost 2 years ago now, that Bedford has a super rare genetic disorder called Schwartz-Jampel syndrome, which set our whole family on a very new trajectory in our life.
Well, that's how I found you guys. I found you on Instagram, actually. The Wonderful Life of Bedford. We're going to link to that in the show notes, but you guys are really advocating a lot to help Bedford have an inclusive playground. And I saw the Instagram and I was like, fell in love with Bedford immediately. I just was like, oh, this kid, like, I just want to like give him a hug. And like, I wish I lived in your town. I would love like doing speech therapy with him. But I also just love your mission. And it is really unfortunate that it takes, understanding individuals with disabilities to start recognizing how inaccessible playgrounds are in lots of places, not just playgrounds, but that's how I found you guys. And so I was like really excited to have you on to talk about your experience and of course share your project and hopefully get some people interested and, donating. So we're going to go into all the details, but before we kind of launch down that path, I just want to hear about your experience. We have a lot of listeners of this podcast who are parents of children with rare incidence disabilities, a lot of practitioners and educators that listen who work with children that have rare incidence disabilities. And so tell me a little bit about kind of the journey to diagnosis.
Yeah. So when he seemed really normal. No indication, nothing that was like a red flag or anything like that until he started walking. When he started walking or learning to walk, his pediatrician was like, something's not quite right. We need to send him up north and just look at, getting some braces or something like that. So we went to an orthopedic doctor up north, near Chicago, and she wanted to do some x-rays. And when she came in with the x-rays, like, she's walking in the door and I saw her face and I was like, oh no, like you can just tell something's up. And she said that, yes, she's like, it's not just what I thought it might be. It's not a braces situation necessarily. I'm not sure what it is. And so from there, we got referred to a couple different places, but mostly the genetics testing that we needed to get so they could even just figure out what was going on. That was a process. It took a while to get in. They had a bunch of questions. They had to ship us a thing to get DNA, just all this stuff. And then we had to wait for 3 or 4 months. 3 months.
It wasn't that.
I think it was 3 months.
We did the testing in May and we found out in August.
3 months.
I was calling them probably every 2 weeks, like, are they in?
Totally.
We'll call you. But then they called me and I think I was in the drive-through somewhere by myself. So of course, and I don't even know if I remembered the name, the diagnosis name. I just remember I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And she's like, well, It's likely going to impact his stature. He's likely in pain 24/7. And I think I just shut out. I didn't cry in that moment, but then when I got off the phone, I just started weeping. And obviously I was driving, so I couldn't just hop on and start Googling everything. Came home crying to him, and he's like, what happened? And I obviously couldn't even articulate any version of what she told me. So then he called her back. And I'm very blessed in who I married because I am the emotional person. Served its purpose well, but he's very practical, logistical, black and white. So he could hear this diagnosis and not just completely plummet where I did. So that was heavy. And yeah, the process I feel like was not to fault the genetics, but you don't really understand the complexities of this until you have to get your kid tested.
Yeah.
So then shortly after we got his diagnosis around, I think it was August, late August, maybe. Then they wanted to get us a meeting with an orthopedic doctor, a genetics specialist, and then skeletal dysplasia. And they called it the team, but when we called to schedule the appointment, they were like, oh, we can get you in like next May. And we're like, no, that's not how that works. So he more or less like demanded, like, no, you just gave us this heavy diagnosis. We're not gonna just wait
7 months.
Right.
But I think because it was not life threatening, they were like, it's not that big of a deal. I'm like, no, this has completely altered our world. So he fought back, pushed back a little bit, and they got us opportunities to meet with each of those people separately. And we haven't actually ever met with them collectively, which I don't really know if that mattered, but
well, so the reason I do that is because there are a lot of other things within the skeletal dysplasia team setting that are more common and or more treatable, just different things. And so like in those scenarios, it can make some sense. But when we first started getting more appointments and meetings with the doctors, they finally sort of admitted to us, well, we've never had a kid with this here.
Wow.
So like you start to realize like, okay, you guys can talk to each other, but you don't have answers. We're all just kind of guessing.
The other hard part too is if you Google it, the current research is like 1970s. So it's like black and white images, and like if there is documentation, it's alarming and scary, or it's very not specific. So I'm like, I don't even know what this means. Like, what does this entail? And we were very blessed in that we got wind of, when you Google this, there was a boy who TLC had done an episode on.
Oh, wow.
He was from out east.
About 9 years, 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was dated a little bit. But he had moved out east, and then we found out that he had actually moved about an hour and a half from us.
Wow.
So like, what are the odds of this is so rare in the world and we have someone in driving distance? So we actually got to meet him last summer and have a cool friendship with him. He's 18 and he excitedly is like, I want to be Bedford's mentor. So just knowing that we have someone when Bedford becomes of age to comprehend his differences, he was able to talk to an actual kid. At that point, he's going to be like in his 20s, but like a practical. And the cool thing with him too is he started like a football podcast and has quite the following on social media. So he's been like all these Super Bowl games, is meeting these NFL players and is making a name for himself. So it's been cool to support each other in that way. But then we joined the Facebook groups like you're supposed to, and people posted like once every 3 years, and 99% of the time it was in another language. So we're like, this is not helpful whatsoever, which is why I took to social media. Like I randomly thought one day, I actually started posting on Instagram solely because everywhere I went, someone in our community stopped me because they heard about his diagnosis, and because there's nothing to really Google, I think everyone felt it was like a cancer diagnosis. So there was like a lot of like pitying, we're praying for full healing. And I'm like, you can't pray this away. He is genetic makeup. But I was like crying in the grocery store. I'm like, I need to help educate our people in a way where I know that they mean well, but I'm struggling, which is why I then started just posting updates like, hey, went to this doctor's appointment. These are the very specific prayer requests, or these are the needs, or this is what we're going through. But then I've always loved writing and being an encourager. But then people would still stop me and be like, I loved your post. It was so motivating. And I'm like, I meant for people to kind of like leave me alone, but the opposite. Because I struggled those first few months, I would say from September through probably maybe even into the next year. Like I think I went like a few weeks without not eating, but like just sick to my stomach. Like maybe I should go to the emergency room. I started counseling. Just it feels very dramatic now, but in the moment, like what does this mean for him? Like talking to my counselor, I'm like, is he ever gonna get married? Is he gonna be able to drive? Is he gonna hate life? Is he gonna hate us? Like obviously what if questions that he's 1.5 at the time. Stop living in the future, live in the day today.
Yeah.
So, and then whimsically, I was like, I wonder if I posted on TikTok if it would reach a broader audience, and I'll use hashtags, and then I wouldn't go back to the app for like a week and a half because I didn't want to just doom scroll TikTok. And then one week I was like, hey Jesse, so I did a thing and his page went viral because he was like, don't use TikTok. You know? And then he had to come face to face with like, oh no, is this okay? Like it went viral and here we are. So there's no turning back. And then obviously it's just been like a snowball since. But yeah.
I mean, everything you guys are talking about as far as the initial phase of the diagnosis and like the intense like grief and fear that can be associated with that, I think is very common for any diagnosis, but then especially like rare incidents. It's just like there's no roadmap, there's no like clear path, and like that uncertainty can feel so scary for families. And so I think that I'm happy that you shared so vulnerably about that, because I think that's a huge piece of this journey, is just like the not knowing. And then like as you start kind of building more knowing, and like he's obviously like building skills and he's like growing and learning, and you're talking with people and you're connecting, it feels like that is part of kind of the process that can unfold after that initial stage of diagnosis. What would you say like helped you the most during that time, that like challenging time where you were just kind of waiting in the fear of the unknown?
Without starting to cry. Our community was so good to us. Just I work at the school that our older son goes to, very tight-knit community, and our church community, our friend community. I remember sitting on my patio, just like weeping to my parents about it. And in the midst of all this, like my dad is my dad is battling cancer. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't cry.
Okay.
And he just, the way that he sort of positioned my thought process to be like, God clearly has called you to be an encourager, to try to help people. And now you get to do that with your son. So it was just a cool pivot of, I don't know, you set out and this is my career path. And like, yes, as a mom, my kids are, you shift when you get into motherhood. But especially with the direction that Bedford's social media took, like it almost feels like an entire new, I don't know, focus on our life has opened. And I always thought I would be here, and it was very like small, and now it's like all because of Bedford. And if I didn't have Bedford, something that I tell people often, I want to encourage people, and in another life I wouldn't be able to encourage rare moms or moms with special needs because I didn't have any skin in the game. And now I have a seat at that table to where I can say like, hey, I'm going through it too. So just that probably has been the thing that has grounded me the most. Of I can sit here and I can mourn it, or I can say like, no, this is what God's called me to do. This is what my life is going to look like now, and I'm not going to sit around and let life happen to me. Like I want Bedford and our older boy to grow up in a world where things happen and you react and they can still be used for good. So
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's like it's a normal human experience to go through that like initial stage of all of the emotions, and like feeling that is such an important part of the process. But there gets like a turning point where you can choose to like keep suffering and keep living in fear. And conversely, you can choose a different path. Like you can choose to shape a different mindset. And I feel like that's exactly what you have done. And I think that's a beautiful thing that you can share with other families that are going through similar things. And it's one of the coolest things about the like hyper connectedness that we now have with social media. There's a lot of bad things about it, like doom scrolling, like for sure. But one of the beautiful things is like there's never been an easier time to connect and share your story with other humans and in a really impactful way. And so I think that it's awesome that we can connect with other people, and I'm sure that you guys have even more of an impact than you realize with the work that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple of things. I feel like we jumped ahead a little, but yeah, I mean, for me, it was a little different. I did not react immediately, and felt like, I mean, and this, I just wanted to say this just for other dads, because I think dads are sort of overlooked a lot in
Hmm.
those kind of scenarios, because when kids especially are young, like it's the mom, and
Hmm.
that's the right thing, but the dads have a different experience. Like I felt like I had to protect my family. I felt like I had to act like everything was okay, and be
Hmm.
the strong one. And so Holly sort of plummeted right away. And then a few months later, we flip-flopped.
Hmm.
That wasn't, I wouldn't call that a healthy thing. It's just kind of what happened. Um,
Hmm.
and so, I mean, it's been sort of a journey for both of us in working through it in very different settings and different ways and different thought processes. I mean, for me, so one of the things about this, the research for it, there were only 150 recorded cases since the 1960s globally.
Wow.
And we found now that I think there's probably closer to like 2,000 of them,
Mm.
but that's still about a one in a billion. And so when
Wow.
you think about those numbers, like for me as more of a logical person, that's what really struck me and sort of messed with my head a little bit. Like you can't fathom this rarity. You can't, and it was very lonely for both of us in different ways and
Hmm.
together.
Hmm.
Um, because like truly there was nobody, like, the doctors are trying to help, our people are trying to help, but nobody can truly understand the specific thing you're going through. Like it's,
Hmm.
and we're discovering what that is going to mean for his life at the same time that his doctors are discovering it. And that's sort of a weird thing because
Hmm.
usually you get a diagnosis, or more often than not, right? It's like, oh, the kid has this, or the person has this, and that means these kind of milestones, and when about these things will happen, and what have you, or here's
Hmm.
the path to making this better. And
Hmm.
we had none of that, literally
Hmm.
zero. It's all trial and error. There is no path there. One of the things she said to me on the phone 3 times the first time she told us the diagnosis was, this is progressive and permanent. And she said it to me 3 different times. And later on, I kind of looked back and went, as people started to react to it around us, that's when I started to realize why she was so adamant with me about it, because immediately you get the, well, how can you make this better? How can you heal this? How can you, what's the doctor's program we're going to go through? What's the hospital we need to go to? Just all these different things. And
Yeah.
she wanted me to be very aware this is not you're not going to go out and find the solution for this. This
Hmm.
is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Like,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I really was thankful for that. So I just wanted to add that to sort of the processing part of it.
Yeah. I appreciate that because I do think that there's different every human processes things in different ways, but I do think there's usually a difference between kind of the masculine and
Oh
feminine
yeah.
ways of dealing and processing. And so yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And it's yeah, I'm sure it was like such a heavy hit to hear like permanent and progressive, especially knowing that like, well, what does that mean, right? Like there's nuance to that, and it's like
Yeah,
it's
there is.
just like how could you possibly know? And it's like, there's so many different competing factors, meaning like, okay, what does this mean for development of skills? And like, what does that life look like? And also like the whole medical side of the equation. Like, what does this look like medically? So can you speak a little bit to like what you've learned about his diagnosis and just like
Yep.
what's going
Um,
on with him currently?
Yeah, so it has been sort of a evolving thing, and I have sort of an interesting ending to it.
Mhm.
So what Schwartz-Jampel syndrome is it's a line of genetic code that if there's an issue within that genetic code, you have this. And it means that your muscles are super tight. They are always contracting through your whole body from top of your head to your toes.
Mm-hmm.
And that means a lot of things more than what it sounds like. The first thing and most obvious thing is that it affects bone growth because your muscles are restricting the bone's growth.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first thing we saw in the x-rays, you could see it very clearly, was his legs are sort of bowed like that,
Mm-hmm.
which causes, issues with growth and height and things like that. But over time, we started to find other things like his hips are not closing the way they're supposed to. We started to learn about how that actually happens with kids because we had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have smaller mouths. So like their jaws are smaller, and so his teeth, as they started to grow and come in, started to grow inwards. If you like look at his teeth,
Mm-hmm.
they just all sort of point in, and
Mm-hmm.
that causes like the teeth to start to overlap more.
And his jaw, because it's tight, will not expand to be able to reach back.
So chewing is hard.
Chewing's harder, which means
We
dental issues, which we didn't expect. So now we're looking at like cavities, even though we brush his teeth and floss, and he yells at us every single night because his mouth can't open the way that ours can. So it's just stuff that you don't think about. Like if you look at him, he has a six pack. His traps look like they're flexed constantly.
yeah.
His eyebrows are up all the time, even when he was sleeping.
Which we thought
Because
was
they
cute
don't
at first.
relax. Like nothing ever relaxes. So everyone's always like, "Oh, is this baby in pain 24/7?" Yes, but he also doesn't know any different. So it's hard for us to gauge, is he truly in pain 24/7? There are certain movements that will make him yelp. He does have muscle spasms a few months ago. He had one in his neck and he was positioned like this for probably 3 days and we had to like myofascial release it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like a massage doesn't necessarily work. PT doesn't necessarily work because you can't stretch him.
Mm-hmm.
He can't hinge at the hip. It almost is like his legs are constantly locked, which makes if we tried to walk with our legs locked, obviously we would look awkward doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a hard time jumping.
Jumping, he can't run.
Stairs are about impossible.
So it's just
Mm-hmm.
very limited range of motion, which is why his PT was like, hey, let's get him a walker, more for stability. He can walk. It's just that he doesn't have the dexterity to catch himself because it's like he's like a plank. So the walker does help, but he very stubbornly often is like, I don't want it.
Well, I think one of the biggest things for us, partially because we have nothing to point to in most cases, is the impact it would have on us in ways you never think of. People like, it's not that they don't mean well, they do, but they have no idea the things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis, such as car seat. You can't buckle his car seat. He is like a
Well, you
plank.
can't buckle it well.
We can't buckle well.
Buckle him in the
So
car seat.
we had to get the bigger car seat for his
We had
age than we were
to, yeah.
supposed to in order to do that,
Mm-hmm.
Also, like because he's sort of a plank, like as soon as you carry him once, you know what we're talking about, but it's not like a normal child.
A Gumby, like most kids are flimsy, noodly.
So it's much
Yeah.
harder on us. So like we have now a lot of back
Perpetual
and
back pain.
issues now because of that, and we have to carry him more often than other
Mm.
parents do because he can't.
Like if it's icy outside or there's a
Right.
place we have to get to quickly,
There's a lot
Mm.
of
carry him.
small things in the day that you don't really think about. And like even the carrying thing, we didn't think much of it until later on when we started having doctor's appointments and things, and they were like, "Yeah, you're hurting yourself." So it's just, just different things you just really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't know it until you're in it and you're like experiencing kind of the nuances of something like this.
Right.
And it's hard too, because like I think, at least for me especially, Holly was better about this before, but it's given me a lot of new perspective on you don't really know what people are dealing with on a day-to-day
Totally.
basis, and more grace and more kindness is really important because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they just are being not a great human or whatnot, but
Mm-hmm.
also you just don't know. I mean, the amount of times we've been in situations where we're like, man, if they knew what we were doing,
Totally.
then maybe they'd treat us different, or maybe they wouldn't have reacted that way. But
Right.
it's
Mm-hmm.
just It's a hard thing.
I think that's incredibly important for educators and clinicians to think about because, we get in our silos and we're like, okay, I'm here to work on speech and communication and like, here's your homework. And like, they come back and it's like, you didn't do your homework. And like, we can be so in our own lane,
Yeah.
like broadening out and being like, okay, what's actually happening at home? Oftentimes we can't even begin to fathom the
Right.
types of things that families are dealing with on a medical basis, like just all the kind of nuances of like, well, we didn't sleep because of this and that. And I actually have PT and OT and all of these other things to be, juggling as well. And so I think it's a really good reminder for educators and clinicians, especially like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes and like giving more grace and patience and understanding and really like the way I think about it as a therapist is like how I'm there to support families. Like I'm there to like figure out a way to support. And sometimes that support doesn't look like speech therapy necessarily. It's like, what's going on? Okay, let's talk about it. I'm here to listen. I'm here to like brainstorm and troubleshoot with you. So I'm happy that you mentioned that because I feel like it's such an important reminder for educators, especially.
Well, we have a PT and an OT that like it was part of the early intervention program, and they jumped right in with him and have been
Angels.
yeah, there's really no better word. They went to a event in St. Louis with us that was for supporting his playground. They have done lots of free work with him. They've come to our house. They are, I don't know what we would have done without them. I mean, and they
Mm.
truly, it's not a job for them.
Hmm. Hmm. That's the mark of a good therapist
Yeah.
is like you just tell like they love helping people and like that's like why they're in it. And so I'm so happy that you've been blessed with that level
Yes.
of support and care. That's amazing. Okay, let's talk about the playground because that's how I found you guys. And I love this idea of inclusion. Like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's so sad that like there's so many places that are so inaccessible to kids and adults. So tell me a little bit about the genesis of the inclusive playground.
Yeah.
I'll tell a story just real quick. I mean, so when she built the social media pages and they
Yeah,
took off, we started getting like 10,000 followers a day, like really
yeah,
quick.
yeah.
And so just leading into this, like we started getting messages from all kinds of people, some who were like bots and whatever, but others that just would give us these stories of like how much he has impacted them. And we're sitting here like, this kid is more famous than his parents. This kid is
Just the
definitely
reach. Like we had a lot of people.
reaching so many people that
The playground is obviously such a cool story, but the
Mhm.
amount of people that messaged us like so encouraged, like
Mm.
I mean, whether it's true or not, like I was wanting to hurt myself tonight and I saw your video and it got me out of this slump. And I'm like, what in the world is
is
my
happening.
words and my 2-year-old the impact on these strangers across because I don't like message people. I don't comment on things. So it's a new world. I
Yeah.
look at things and I
Did
share things, but I don't necessarily comment.
Hmm.
So to have to like dialogue with all these people, like they took the time out of their day to write me this big long paragraph. Like it felt like, do we quit our jobs and just respond to all of these messages?
Yeah.
So that was very cool. But the genesis of the playground last spring when we live in the Midwest, so when we got some few nice days, I would go to the park, and our older son is like every morning is Christmas morning to him, so lots of
Oh.
energy. And Bedford wanted to keep up with him and go to the high places, high meaning like the top of the playground equipment. And he was at that age where like mom should be present anyway. I can't just sit on the bench and scroll while you guys do stuff.
Hmm.
And being next to him and realizing, wow, he literally can't do like any of these things. And we were at a playground that had the turf. Uh,
Hmm.
we did not have the walker yet, but I was like looking around, I'm like, he can't do any of this stuff. Like
Hmm.
if he's supposed to be starting school next year, like most of the playgrounds in our area, like don't like he literally cannot do anything. So I made that one post and was like, if I had all the money in the world, I would make every park Bedford friendly. And the internet didn't know what to make of that because apparently there is a city in the UK called Bedford. So they were like, what are you talking about? And then people started commenting saying he's not going to get bullied for his condition. He's going to get bullied for his name. And I was like, sorry, I didn't consult you before I named my child. But so that was hard for
Wow.
me because that's the video that took off. And I'm like, why are these people so mean? And Jesse's like, you're gonna have to be okay with this if you want to keep doing social media. And I got over it. Like people just like to troll.
Yeah.
But that is the video that sparked millions of views. And then that started to be my thing. Like then we were going to more playgrounds and I'm like, legitimately, he can't do anything. And people think, oh, this playground has turf. And I'm like, it does. But then once he gets on the turf, he can't go anywhere or do anything.
Mm.
Or my favorite is there would be a ramp down to the mulch. And I'm like, how does that help? I mean,
Yeah. What do we do once we get
where do
down the
you go?
ramp?
Get down the mulch. So then our PT and OT got him the walker. So then I would start posting videos of him navigating playgrounds. And the one that randomly will go viral like once a month, I feel like, is the one where he's getting over the curb. And what I always tell people, and you can see it if you watch the whole video, he wanted snacks on out of frame. And he was at the age where he was like, get it for me. And I was like, no, you can do it. So then just obviously coaching him through that. I coached volleyball for years, so I feel like I do have that coaching, the natural, like, no, let's do this. You can do it. You can do it. And for whatever reason, the internet was like, I love watching this 2-year-old succeed. But then obviously he was able to do it on his own the second time, even easier. So just navigating that. And then the son of one of the women who are connected with the nonprofit Unlimited Play had messaged me, but on TikTok you can only message once. And I think he said like hi or something. And so he couldn't message me. So then he started commenting on all the videos and was like, I messaged you, but I can't message you again. Trying to get a hold of us. So I went and found him and was like, sorry, that was our dryer. It's like, hey, Jesse, this looks like a legit company or a nonprofit. Like, what does it hurt? So I sent them a very bland, like, hey, this person, username messaged me. Told me to reach out to you, so here I am. And they're like, yes, we saw Bedford story. We would love to set up a Zoom call with you. I was at a park taking that Zoom call. He was at home with the boys, and it was really just them talking about their mission behind it. Natalie, the founder, was in the same position that we were. Her son was on the sidelines, and she took upon herself to raise funds for almost $1 million playground in her city so her son could play. And then everyone was like, can you do one in our city? And she was like, no, this was way too hard. I'm not doing it again. And then 20 years later, this is what she's doing with her life. But it was just cool that she was sharing this story. And I don't know what at the time, I did not know anything about this stuff. I know that it costs lots of money. I was not thinking like, I'm going to get a playground out of this. In May, I had whimsically said to the principal at the school that I was at, if Bedford's going to start school here, he won't be able to play on the playground. And I said to him, like, I'm getting him a playground. Like, kind of joking. He and I have that relationship, and he kind of laughed at me. And then like a month later, we're having this Zoom call with these gals, and they were like, hey, let's talk with our grant writing team, and we'll get back to you. I was getting my hair done, and she had messaged of like, hey, can you hop on a Zoom call? I'm like, well, not really. I can hop on audio. And I'm thinking like, they found us a grant. And again, I'm so ignorant of, at the time, playgrounds. I'm thinking like $100,000. That's still a lot, but like if they could help us, whatever. So then we hop on the call and they're already clearly visibly emotional. And they can't see me because I have the tinfoil in my hair and all that. And they're like, we have an annual gala every fall where we raise funds for General Playground. And we would love to feature Bedford at our gala. And I'm like, what? Like, we don't even know you. And I'm like crying because I'm a crier. And I'm like, Jesse, could you say anything? And it pans to him on my phone. And he has his head down, like crying too. So yeah, we went to St. Louis in October and were able to share a small portion of Bedford's story on stage. And Little Tykes agreed to match dollar for dollar that was raised that night. And I think we walked away from the gala with about
it's almost 300,000.
Total was the playground, but that night I think we walked away with a little over two.
The playground's more than that. It was about 300,000 that we raised that night.
So yeah, so then we had obviously a huge chunk of change to work with, and I'm like, this is our reality. And so then we started selling t-shirts with meet you at the curb, which my parents actually were like, it was from my caption where I put, do something hard today, Bedford will meet you at the curb. And they were like,
Mm.
throw that on a t-shirt and sell it. And I haven't checked in a while, but we were pushing like almost 1,000 t-shirt.
Over 1,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy that like these people are like wearing it to work out in because it motivates them.
Oh.
I'll see them randomly in the community, people that I'm like friends with, obviously, but then people that I'm not overly connected with, and they have a Bedford shirt on, and I'm like, you bought one of my boys' shirts?
Oh.
So then just people started coming out of the woodworks. Like, we decorated our house for Christmas lights and we want to put his sign out front with the link to the thing, and people can
Mm.
donate there, like a bunch. Oh, it's like
Tons.
a Christmas concert. I had a girl that I played basketball against in high school reach out and was like, I make cookies, like I'll do a giveaway, like everyone wanting to give. And we haven't addressed this, and I don't know if you've seen It's a Wonderful Life, the movie. That is where his name comes from.
Mm.
And just the end scene with George Bailey standing there with the table and everyone's just dumping money on the table. I was like, this is Bedford's life. Like the name showing and coming to fruition before he's even 3, where it feels like people are just dumping their change, like anything that they have to help bring
Mm.
this vision to life. And then I started making more pointed posts on Instagram, like, hey, he has 200,000 followers if every single person gave $1. And then we would get texts from Unlimited Play where they're like, did you just make a post? Because they were getting like notification for
I like sending us
notification.
screenshots of just like people giving literally $1 or more.
So
But
yeah,
Yeah.
we hit every single state in the US, and like we're up to like 40 countries where
50.
people have given
Wow.
where they saw Bedford's story. So yeah, we Monday or Sunday we broke ground, which is crazy.
Mm.
And it decided to rain every day since then. So it's been like a muddy mess. But for all of this to happen, and it's not even May, like it hasn't even been a year since I spoke it into existence.
Mm.
But legitimately, I was like praying so hard, like, put me in the path of whoever knows how to build these things.
Mm-hmm.
And a month later, like on a silver platter, it felt like. Because I was asking some city friends, like, how do I build a playground? I don't know. I was asking ChatGPT, how do I build a playground? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
how do I ask people to care about this?
Yeah.
It's happened since. I mean, there's some couple cool little pieces that like have happened through this time too. Like she said, over 50 countries have donated. Or people from 50 countries have donated. So we've been getting support from the whole world, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Um, in addition to that, because the page kept blowing up, what we now have is a bunch of parents messaging us in every language in every country you can imagine. We have a
Mm.
child. We don't know what to do. Can you give
With
us?
SJS.
Can you tell us
Wow.
what to do?
Like
Like,
last week alone, we had someone from Portugal reach out, and this boy's 5, and he is the closest to the stiffness factor that we've seen with Bedford. He
Mm-hmm.
can't bend either. Most of the other kids that we've connected with can bend.
Mm.
We had a mom from Denmark. Like, it's bonkers that people are coming to us and are like, we felt so alone, all because I started using the hashtag
well, they haven't found each
Schwartz-Jampel
other.
syndrome.
We are their support in this, and it's
Mm.
We don't know what we're doing, but these people are coming to us. I'm like, do we host a Schwartz-Jampel convention? Like,
so
Yeah.
we've been able to help people all over the world, like just start to figure out their journey with this as well, which has been a really cool thing. The
Mm.
playground exceeded its initial ask, and so we're adding a second section to that.
Mm.
We've already ordered 4 new pieces of equipment that were in addition to the plan.
so we are still fundraising because the school is having an auction, and they're adding a paved area where kids can play. So as Bedford ages out of wanting to play on a playground,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be a covered cemented area where it would be walker or wheelchair friendly. So to truly make that entire area of the school outdoor area inclusive
Mm.
has been such a blessing. So
And I mean, just the people we've gotten to connect with and meet has just been incredible. I mean, our lives have truly just changed.
yeah.
Mm.
It's a very different world for us now. And yeah, we're not really sure what to expect next, but it's different.
Yeah. Well, at least you have pulled together like more and more community around an amazing cause, but also just connecting with other families that are now able to understand a little bit more about their children and vice versa. I'm sure like there's an exchange there of like
Oh
sharing and
yeah, So one of the really awesome things about this too is like we've actually really grown to love Unlimited Play and the
Mhm.
people that run it, obviously, like we've become
Mhm.
close with them. And but they do like 100 playgrounds. They've done over 100 playgrounds, and they're growing really quick now. And
Mm.
so like Bedford's story and the way we fundraise was something very new for them. They've never had that
Mhm.
happen. And so we've been talking to them a lot. We're actually going to be starting to help them do more video and marketing, our
Mhm.
company is, so that we can
Mhm.
tell the stories of other kids that they're doing these playgrounds for.
Ah,
I
I
mean,
love
it's
that.
really just not only pivoted like our direction in life a little bit, but it's also like allowing us to shine a light on the stories of other kids that have
Mhm.
not Bedford's thing, but something else going on, and with families that don't necessarily know how to do that, don't necessarily maybe aren't encouraged at this point, and maybe they
Mhm.
just need that light for them. And so I think that's really, I don't know, it's obviously very early for us in that process, but I think
Mhm.
that's one of the things we're most excited about moving forward.
I love that. And it's like it's such a powerful thing to be able to shine that light and give that gift. And that's why I'm really excited that you guys were willing to come on and talk about your story today. I'm super excited to share this episode with all of our listeners. For those who are like, how do I get involved? I want to donate. I want to contribute. I want to follow along. Like, how do people reach you and how do people get involved?
I mean, we try to be super intentional with the messages. The hard part is sometimes I'll open them on my phone and then he's supposed to handle the business side of things. I handle the emotional side. But Unlimited Play has a link on their website. It's under in progress playgrounds, and you can scroll and find Bedfords. We could send that to you, but
Mhm.
that would be probably the best landing place because the school was going to try to build the addition on their own, but Unlimited Play is actually going to absorb the whole project. The school's auction is just going to be what primarily, hopefully, funds it. Uh,
Mhm.
but yeah, people are still giving even today. Like people just
Mhm.
every
Yeah.
time they see something are giving. So any extra is just going to go to keep making it even more involved. But yeah, we love interacting with the amount of rare moms I've met and
Mhm.
have tried to also support who are doing similar social media rallying, like just being able to support each other in the causes that they're pushing
Mhm.
for. Not everyone is trying to build an inclusive playground,
Mhm.
but there are a lot of moms who are trying to bring attention to their kids' specific needs and
Mhm.
just supporting each other in that way. And I don't know, it's just a cool place to be. So
I love that. I'm so excited. We're going to definitely share your social media handle on our show notes at Wonderful Life with Bedford and any link that we can share for people who want to get involved. This has been such an incredible conversation. I'm really so excited that you opened my message on Instagram and responded because I'm sure you get a ton of messages every day. But I just was like, I was so excited to just like see your story and I was like showing everybody that I know. I was like, look how like adorable this kid. Look at this inclusive playground. I just like couldn't stop myself, and I was like, why don't I reach out? Like this would be an amazing podcast interview, and I bet I can help kind of amplify the message.
that'd be
So thank you
awesome.
guys so much for taking the time, and I'm really happy that my message came into your inbox and you saw it and you responded.
Really try. We really try. We appreciate you having us on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited. Of course, yeah, we'll share when this comes out. And for people listening, I'm Rachel Madel from Talking with Tech here with Jesse and Holly Erickson. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week.